against the grain of what we know as federalism in theory and in practice everywhere, the British handed down a federal republic that was killed against a part of the country. They exposed a part of the country to what they call direct rule, and they decided to use indirect rule to govern the others. And so, at independence, what we had was essentially the same economic structure, a system that was directed not at benefiting the people of Nigeria, but at cutting away resources from Nigeria to Europe, particularly the United Kingdom. And that is why, if you look at the country very well, we have continued in this situation. At a time, it was the export of slaves. When slavery became unattractive, we began to export cash crops. And today, what do we export? Hydrocarbon. It is still the same structure that they put in place several years ago that is still in existence up to today. And therefore, the Nigeria that you have is an unusual federal system. It's a warped arrangement that is not promotive of development. And that is why, try as we continue to be, except we get the structures of governance correctly, we probably will not be able to move out of this cycle of poverty and non-functionality. It is one reason, for instance, where the military found it necessary to intervene and easily to pocket the country as it were for many years. It is the same reason why several democratization attempts in this country have failed, because the basic structures that should promote development and stability were certainly not put in place. And this is the context in which our eminent late Professor Twadake will talk about how politics underdevelops a political system like ours. The second reason why this conference has become imperative, now the argument is, if we don't proceed beyond that, that already warped arrangement that you have put in place for us by the British and which we have sustained willingly since then, we probably will not be able to move out of this place. And I have always said that it does not matter how long we live as a country. If we don't get the structures right, we probably will not be able to break out of this cycle. A good example I like to cite often is Haiti. Haiti became independent in the 19th century. Today, it is still the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So it is not a question of saying, well, 60 years in the life of a nation is not too long, we'll get it right someday. If we continue on this track, chances are we're going to continue in poverty and underdevelopment, crisis and instability. The second imperative is what I call the lethargy on the part of the National Assembly at rejigging the constitution that we have, the 1999 constitution that is supposedly a federal constitution, but which to all intents and purposes is a completely unitary system. And I have argued that it is not possible to sustain a plural and homogeneous entity like Nigeria on the crutches of a unitary constitution. It's not just going to work. It does not matter how much we try. We'll continue to run into crisis from time to time. Now, if the National Assembly had been as proactive as we expected, and I give all apologies to our paramount senators representing the Senate and the National Assembly here. If the National Assembly had been more proactive in terms of looking at the Constitution and taking out some of those obnoxious provisions that certainly are not going to be promotive of development, we probably would not need to have a national conference. So I see this national conference intervention as an inevitable step to correct what the National Assembly has found it difficult to deal with. And of course, the reasons are obvious. The Assembly is too much bogged down by partisanship, and with all apologies, some of they tend to look at issues that are mundane. For instance, I couldn't understand why the National Assembly should be talking about procedure of making it easier to remove president from office. Those certainly are not things that the National Assembly of today, given the iniquities that we have in the Constitution, should be talking about. The third reason why the National Congress has become imperative is because the security situation in Nigeria is becoming critical and almost too difficult to handle. I say with all sense of responsibility, to all intents and purposes, our country is at war. It's not just in a state of war. A state of war is a situation in which war could break out at any time. But a situation in which you have the type of disaster that is happening in the Northeast, you know that we are in a war situation. And if we don't do something about it, the situation may get out of hand. And I'd like to, at this point, also commend the President that in spite of this, he has done so much. He has reduced and localized the conflict to the Northeast. Imagine what is happening in the Northeast if it broadcasts across Nigeria. We probably would not have the luxury of sitting here to talk about how to do a national conference. So we must commend Mr. President and the security forces for the job they are doing. It's also important to acknowledge that in spite of the challenges, Mr. President and the presidency continue to make efforts to ensure that we have some semblance of development. As we speak now, Nigeria is about overtaking South Africa as the largest economy in the world. In spite of the challenges of security, it has become an investment hub because the insecurity is localized. But these are just what the president, in the best of intentions, will be able to do. If the structures remain as they are, we probably are not going to be able to get out of this nasty situation that we have. Now, the issue of 2015 was raised as part of the subtopic. Why is 2015 critical and important? It's so important because it makes all the difference if you win the presidency or you don't win the presidency. Because the power is so concentrated at the center, resources are concentrated at the center. We have a so-called concurrent list that's a sublime way of empowering the federal government. And therefore, you must battle to get access to the federal government. If you are out, you are like being in the rain. If you are in, you have some comfort. That arrangement is not supportive of development, it's not supportive of stability. And therefore, we must have the courage as Nigerians to find out what we need to do to get this situation to an agreeable status. Now, the question has been asked, and I think this is one issue that we must address. What becomes of the outcome of this conference? The suggestion has been made that it could be probably put in place through a referendum. If it's going to be, then the National Assembly must be called upon to make amendments to the current constitution to provide for a referendum. As it is now, I'm not sure there's anywhere in the constitution that allows us to have a referendum. Secondly, people have suggested that section 4 of the constitution, which gives the power of legislation directly to the National Assembly, could be invoked to make sure that the Decree 24 of 1999 that promulgated this present constitution is revoked and substituted by the outcome of the National Conference. A third situation would be for the conference to take a life of its own. And that is why what we are doing here is very critical. If we have a very strong iron cast position from the South, for instance, it's possible to compel other parts of the country to listen to us. This is the situation that happened in Benin Republic several years ago when the National Conference was convoked. This conference simply took a life of its own. And before you could say Jack Robinson, it has substituted itself for the National Assembly in that country. And the rest is history. I'm saying that for us to have something close to that, there must be iron cast, solid rock agreement from the South. Now I'd like to raise a number of questions very quickly because of time. What are the key issues that I consider appropriate as agenda for this conference? And I call it exiting the logjam, the way out for Nigeria that I know. I have made the point that Nigeria's problem is largely structural. The economy as presently arranged does not admit of requisite development or indeed commitment on the part of most Nigerians. There's a high level of alienation. The nation, the country is too centralized to deliver quality governance. The political situation and arrangement is such that it is only instability and underdevelopment that will get promoted. So the way out for me is federalism. Has been pointed out variously by everybody that has spoken here. Federalism is the only valve that we can use to get out of this crisis that Nigeria unfortunately is in. People talk in terms of true federalism, and the point was raised, do we really have true federalism and untrue federalism? I think the adjective true comes into play because what we have that is called federalism in Nigeria is to all intents and purposes a unitary system of government. Federalism is a constitutional arrangement that enables federative units to come together to throw up a central government. It's therefore a misnomer for the central government that was a creation of the federative units to be more powerful than the federative units and to begin to dictate what happens. But when we talk of federalism, I'd like to quickly point out that it's important we distill the elements because this is very critical. It's not just enough to talk of federalism. Through federalism, we must identify the critical elements. For me, these are one.